VikesNow, Dustin Baker. This is the pre-draft Monday, April 25th edition. I am here with Justin Ekstrom. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your bio, your Vikings bio, so to speak, and how you came to enjoy the purple team.
So January 17th, 1988, Darren Nelson drops that pass in the end zone, right? And I turn to my old man and I say, I'm a Vikings fan for life. They're going to need him now more than ever. And I've been following the team ever since then. Like I was, obviously as a kid growing up in Minnesota, I followed the team my whole entire life. Did a little bit of writing here, a little bit of podcasting here and there ever since. A couple people asked me to write for them. I write for KNSI Sports every once in a while. I do a Saturday sports special on KNSI up in St. Cloud here. It's just mostly local high school sports, but we like to talk about the purple quite a bit. And draft is big for us. I mean, we had you on the show. We had Arif Hassan on the show. It's mostly fun for me. Like I don't do the X's and O's like you guys do, but I like to goof around and I have a good time, and I love and hate the purple all at the same time.
Yeah, the draft part is so fun because of the damn puzzle. Like, obviously, I'm enthralled to see what the Vikings do at 12, and we'll get into that in about 5 minutes. But it's really just sitting down and saying, finally, all the shit I've been thinking about for 3 months is going to come to fruition. That's what I like.
The big thing that's great about this is we have no idea. Like literally, you and I, nobody can prove us wrong until Thursday. Like I could say anything, and they're like, somebody could come at me. I'd be like, okay, well, cool. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, with Spielman, we had some tells, and you could predict some tendencies. And now clean slate, and I think that's part of it. And that's the segue to my first question. I asked this of my last guest. I want to get your take as well. So even today, Kevin O'Connell was on some sort of, what was he on? Pat McAfee show. And Pat McAfee was picking his brain about, can you get this Cousins guy all the way to the Super Bowl? And I'm pretty sure that the reason that they re-upped with Cousins is because they believe they can do with him what O'Connell and McVay did with Stafford in Los Angeles. So on that topic, are Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford bedfellows, or why is one better, one worse?
It's so weird to me, man. Like, Kirk Cousins is very good, I think. Like, I think he's a very good quarterback, just like we saw Matthew Stafford in Detroit. But it took Matthew Stafford in LA with all the pieces around him, like those big time signings that they did. It took all of that to finally get him, and he almost knuckleheaded it for them. Like there was a couple times where he had that pick six where he threw like in the end zone where he was like Matthew Stafford of old and just kind of freaking out. That's the kind of stuff that we see from Kirk Cousins. But I also believe Kirk Cousins and the new regime, they absolutely can win a Super Bowl. The problem is, I don't think they will because it's Minnesota. It's just one of those things where it's like, they can, but we've seen this history. Like you can do anything you want to, and it just doesn't seem to happen. But I love Kirk Cousins, maybe not as much as a lot of other guys, but I think he's absolutely, if you say Matthew Stafford and Kirk Cousins, I actually think Kirk Cousins is better than Matthew Stafford this point in their career. It's just, we got to see it. Like, we got to see a fourth quarter, 2-minute drive or something like that to ice away a game instead of like a fumble or something weird that we've seen.
Yeah, I think we need more of that New Orleans voodoo that we had in the 2019 playoffs. What I think
that seemed like so long ago.
Yeah.
Too?
Oh, yeah. That was such a thrilling moment because it proved to me that Cousins can do it, and it like solidified to me that all right, this is the right guy to back. But I really have him in that Stafford and Derek Carr vein where they're not going to drag teams to the playoffs like Rodgers might, hell or high water. And I think that's kind of where the debate comes in, because people think at $35 million a year, you should be dragging teams to the playoffs. And I think the Kirk stuff's always about the money. The thing that I say about Stafford pretty frequently is, so you and I watched him twice a year, like clockwork, play against the Vikings. And there was never a single moment in my life where I was like, oh shit, Stafford got the ball back, they're going to go win. Like I think that's how people feel about Kirk. And that's the empathy I try to have. Like, okay, what's the deal? What's the disconnect here? I know Stafford's fun. I know he's tough and gritty. But like I just think that we put this premium on quarterback, like as if they do everything. And I get it that they touch the ball more than others, but I digress. Let me ask you about the prognosis for the 2022 Vikings. Vegas sportsbooks right now have them 9 wins. Some are 8.5, some are 9.5. And that might spike a little bit for the draft, but is a 9-win fringe playoff team about where you'd peg them? Or do you have higher expectations or lower? What do we got?
I think it's absolutely right on the money. I had them right at about 9.5. If I was to do the over under, I would have put them at 9.5 wins, just because they're going against the AFC East and the NFC East. Like those two, like those divisions, like they could get a little better this year. But I mean, you got Dallas sometimes scary and the Patriots scary, obviously, but those like are the only two possible losses that I see against those two divisions. And then you got a home slate, man. So when I first started looking, I'm like, 9 wins is perfect, but a ceiling could almost be 12 wins. Like if they were to put together something, and it's so weird not knowing what the schedule is, but that is absolutely what could change too. Like when are we going to Green Bay? When are we going to Chicago? Is it going to be October 31st again in Chicago or whatever? Is going to be Halloween weekend where we can't do anything, can't run the ball, can't pass the ball, can't do anything against a team that looks like they're going to be garbage this year? I don't know. Like that's the thing. But if you split, I have them right at 9 wins, to be honest with you. Long story short, but is that good enough to win this division? It could. What's going on in Green Bay? Like what's happening there? Like we absolutely could win the division at 9 or 10 wins.
Yeah, and it helps that at least on paper, the Bears and Lions don't look too formidable. But those Bears games will be slop fest like you predicted. The NFL draft, man, that's 3 days away, and that's been all the buzz for all the weeks. And I want to know from you. I've been asking this for every single man and woman that comes on the show. Give me a draft prediction, a person. Do they stay at 12? Do they trade back? What's the deal on the draft pick?
Man, I had McDuffie at 12 for like the longest time. That's just what I have him. Now it looks like he might not even be there. If you look at all the smoke screens, at first I was like, no, not McDuffie. We got to trade back and get McDuffie. And now, like, it looks like we might be losing out on 3 corners or / safeties in the top 10. Like what's right with all this smokescreen stuff? Like, is Hamilton going to be there? But I got to stick with 12. I'm sticking with McDuffie. He's so versatile. We don't know what Donatello's defensive scheme's going to look like. That's another thing. Like we're so used to Mike Zimmer and like what he's going to do with all these guys. I mean, we are going to see a 3-4 for the first time in Minnesota Vikings history that I can remember anyway. I mean, maybe they kind of had one back in the day, but as far as I've known them, it's been that four-man front. And I think I'm just going to stick with McDuffie. I'm going to stick with 12. It's just kind of the easy one for me. Because once you start looking at a trade partner or something like that, what's it going to cost to go back to 20? Like, is it going to cost too much and we still might not get McDuffie and might not get Hamilton? Like seems like a few of the big corners are going to go in the top 6. So, I mean, it looks like we're going to have, let's just stick with McDuffie. Let's go with that one.
A funny story on that. So today I published my 7-round predictive mock draft where I think would happen. And it mimics what you say with McDuffie. But to your point about maybe him just being organic at 12, I used PFFs, then I used Pro Football Networks, and I do believe they'll trade. And so I was trying to swing a deal with the Saints and the Steelers to make it realistic. Every time I would do that, McDuffie would be gone. Like the Washington would get, I'd be like, son of a bitch, like just let me have the thing here. And so I spent way too much time just trying to finagle it so that I could follow it easily when I went to go write about it. But just like everybody the Vikings have coveted, the stock on that guy has like just skyrocketed ever since it was announced that the Vikings want him.
Well, that's what's crazy too. Like once you say what you're interested in, that's what everyone else is going to be like, oh, we want him. So now you're screwed. There's no way you're going to get him. And I think he's perfect, man. I would love to have Sauce, obviously, but I don't foresee us trading up for to get him. And you're going to have to trade up into at least the top 10. The only thing that might help us is if some of this buzz about Willis going in the top 10 or some of the quarterbacks going in the top 10, if any of that is true whatsoever, then we get those, even defensive line guys or, even Hamilton might fall, or we might have a choice of two of them. Then I think they might trade back if they have their choice between two, if they're not solidified on one certain guy. And of course, you don't know. I don't know. None of us know what they're thinking. So
yeah, I keep telling fans I keep telling fans to cheer for chaos on Thursday night. You want weird shit to happen. You want, Raiders like stuff to happen where you're like, who? And you want quarterbacks.
They don't even have a pick.
Yeah. Yeah. You want that kind of stuff to happen, because every time that happens, Hamilton, Stingley, and the boys get pushed down to 12, and the Vikings are just right there on the cusp of getting a blue chip talent or getting a guy we know is going to be good, but probably not a top 10 talent. On the idea of the draft, we talked about at the very beginning of the show, the unpredictability of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, because there's no resume. There's no track record, at least as a supreme boss man. If he does do something shocking on Thursday or Friday, if you want to extend it to that, what will it be?
I keep on thinking about this too. Like what would be shocking? Like the draft, you don't know. Like just about anything could be shocking, and it could be normal. We don't know. This is his first time. I went back to Cleveland days. I even looked back at some of the LA draft picks, and they are so off the charts different than what I'm used to seeing. Like I think the thing that would be surprising, I don't think it's going to happen, but the surprise to me would be if he takes a QB in the top 2 rounds.
Okay.
Like I think maybe even 3 would be surprising to me. Like they're saying they're all in on this Cousins thing. And then if they take a QB early, or if they trade up to get one of these guys, like I just don't see them having enough capital in this year's draft to get up to go get Sauce that they want. But if they really like him, maybe being the numbers or the analytical guy, like he says, okay, we got to go get him because he's perfect for Donatello's defense. Those two would be shocking to me. Like if they traded up in the first round, or if they got a QB in the first 3, that would just be one of those things that'd be like, what?
That's fair. Because when you invest 70 million guarantee, whatever it is, over the next 2 years in a quarterback, and we're in this climate where you want to have a quarterback on his rookie deal, that's all the craze. It would be kind of weird to draft Malik Willis and then have Cousins, guaranteed money. So to your point, that would be shocking, but it's also like, we would get it. We would understand it. If he loved Malik Willis, got him at 12, we'd be like, oh boy. Okay. So good answers. What I'm saying. My first guest on the show was Wes Johnson. He writes for Vikings Territory. He was on a few weeks ago, and his big one, if you want to remember it, is that he said, even if Sauce or Stingley were there at 12, his surprise would be Kwesi would still trade back. And I was like, ooh, that's a good answer.
That would be surprising too. Like I didn't even think of that. That's like mind blowing to me, because if Sauce is there, like I am driving to wherever they're at in Vegas, and I am driving my beater vehicle that does not have a muffler on it right now, and I will drive them to the podium to make sure they get that pick in on time.
All right, we'll hold you to that. I'll be texting you if that starts to shake down. All right, what about free agency? The Vikings have about $12 million. Need 8 or 9 of that to sign practice squad people and draft class. In theory, they could speak with Kendricks and Dalvin Cook to push some of their money off in the future. Do you think that the big name free agents are done coming to the Vikings? Because there's still some out there. There's Richard Sherman. There's Honey Badger. Odell's still out there. Do you think that it's pretty much done for what we consider big names?
So I thought if we were going to have another big name, it was going to be one of those wide receivers from formerly of Cleveland, one of those two. I thought maybe they'd bring them in, or Honey Badger for sure. I would love to see him across from Harrison Smith, especially in a 3-4 where he just gets to go just wreak havoc. Like whatever he does, I thought maybe that'd be fun to see him on a Patrick Peterson team again. But I think they're done. Like there's just not enough money. Maybe if you think it's, if it's out of the realm or something, maybe they sign Barr again. I don't know, but it seems like he's going to be too expensive. But I wouldn't consider him big name, so to speak. But I mean, even like Linval Joseph would be kind of fun. Like if they want to take bring that name back to in a 3-4, see what he could do up the middle. But I think they're done.
Okay. No, that's fair. I mean, the funds are skimpy, and I think Kwesi will learn to circumvent this cap situation that he was handed. And I think he did the best that he could in this go around. But it is weird that like JC Treader, who verifiably would fix the middle of the Vikings offensive line from Cleveland, like his old employer, Kwesi's old employer, like just not a sniff there. So they must either enjoy Bradbury or Treader's too expensive.
Yeah, I saw something about Bradbury today too, where they were like, it seems like they really like him. They want to see something out of him. So it's like, I just don't know. Why do we keep failing on centers? Like drafting these centers in the top couple rounds, and it just isn't seem to be working. Is it because they just can't gain weight? I don't know. It's odd to me.
I think Spielman. I like Spielman a lot, and I think he was a good general manager on the whole. I just don't think offensive line was his baby. Of course, he found O'Neal and Darisaw, but I don't think he was a savant when it came to drafting an offensive lineman. And I mean, how could he be? There's strikeout after strikeout. All right. So the last question, you'll recall last summer, we needed a WR3. Vikings have been pounding the table for one of those for 5 years. And we thought we were going to do it with D.D. Westbrook. He was signed. Turns out he was just kind of a special teams dude, which was fine. But then out of nowhere, KJ Osborne emerged. And it all happened in a summer and then a regular season. So give me a Osborne-like dude for people to watch this summer who you expect to break out like he did last year.
So this is just a total cop-out because I thought last year was going to be Irv Smith's.
Yeah.
I thought last year was going to be Irv Smith's year. And I think in this offense, what we don't know what's going to look like, you can go back and look at LA offenses where tight ends would have 3 touchdowns one game, not even a catch the next 2 games. But a guy like Irv Smith is so versatile. If they're going to do things like LA that we've seen LA do, Irv Smith's their guy. Like you don't even need like a wide receiver 4 if you got a tight end 1 like Irv Smith. And then maybe a little scat back. Another Irv Marset, or I can't remember how you pronounce his name.
Amir Smith Marset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Amir Smith or Marset. Like he would be one of those guys where you look at what they've done in LA too. I got to keep going back to the LA film, like what you see those guys doing with their running backs and having them flying all over the place. He's considered a wide receiver, but he's just like a little scat back type. And we obviously saw what he could do on special teams. So I'm going with one of the 2 Smith boys. I know Irv Smith isn't like a flyer. Like, of course, we kind of expect him to be big, but it's just one of those where he's so fun to watch in practice too. I just hope we get to see a training camp with him where you get to see what they're going to do with the tight ends. Because I haven't been at training camp for a couple of years now, but it'll be fun to get back there just to see what they're going to do with some of these guys. But I'll stick with those whole hum answers. Otherwise you got to look at the defense, like add person here, like to be determined, like maybe who they draft. Maybe that's the guy that all of a sudden has, these big defense breakups and 6-7 interceptions. I don't know. Maybe that's the guy.
Yeah, I think on Irv, I think there is a better chance than ever that you'll see the purest form of him because he's in a contract year. We blinked and we're in the final year of his deal. So his career depends on it. And I mean, of course, as long as he stays healthy, he's got to be featured. And this will be the first year that he is not overshadowed by Kyle Rudolph. And, he left town in 2020 and then Conklin emerged, thankfully. And now he left town. So everything's just coming together. You're going to get all the targets, homie. So be ready for him because this is it. This is his tell all year to figure out if he was worth the second rounder.
It's kind of like a softball answer, but I mean, it's like one of those where you start looking at it, there's no like big surprises that you can think of right now. KJ Osborne, you look at him and somebody was going to have to succeed at that wide receiver 3 position. It's just, we didn't know who it was going to be.
Yeah.
Once KJ Osborne came on, he's so fun to watch too. Like it should be a fun offense. I just, I don't want to get too excited because I'm getting sucked into the Wolves playoffs right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting too excited and I just, I guess that's part of being a fan too, but it's it's so exciting and it's good stuff, man. You're doing great things. I love listening to your show. You got some great guests, man. So
All right.
Good stuff.
Well, thanks. I hope that you'll become a regular. I'm doing this daily, so I'll need a full slate of guests. You got any closing arguments for Purple Nation before we sign off?
Nothing for arguments, man. But I gotta tell everyone on Vikings Twitter, just calm it down a bit, would you? Like, I mean, like you can love Kirk Cousins without hating people that hate him. Like you can hate Kirk Cousins without hating people that love him. Like let's get together a little bit here. We're all cheering for the same team, friggin' Vikings and shit. So
Yeah.
I mean, and just be nice to each other online. Don't be just be a little bit of respectful too would be nice. I do pretty well by just kind of even keeling it because I got nothing to gain or lose really by being nice. You're not gonna ruin your reputation by being nice. So let's have a little more Dustin Bakers in the world. Let's have a little more of those guys in the world.
Dustins and Justins. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. More Vince Wrights of the world, just like those guys. I got big name drop the big smooth too. So those guys are great. Vikings Twitter can be great if we allow it to be.
It is. Yeah. No, there's a lot of people like the point of the sentence where you talked about how it's exhausting. And I know a lot of people take breaks and everything. I just love it though. It's like, I wonder where else, like, especially when things go into jeopardy with it today with the purchase, you wonder where would I go? Like if this thing got flipped on its head, what would I do online? Would I have to go to Reddit and be one of those people? I don't know. All right, my man. Well, we got a draft coming up. I got, let's see, the rapper Loso's coming on tomorrow, and Luke Braun is on Wednesday, and we will circle back with you in a few weeks. I think that's all we got for tonight. So, Skol, baby.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely.